Can a software update really fix all of my problems? Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. How's it going? It's me, Francie, coming at you live from our Colorado studio. Well, not exactly live, but you get it. As many of you know, I drove the VinFast VF8 from Tennessee to Colorado. And on my way out here, I was lucky enough that there was a VinFast service center right along my route in Wichita, Kansas, which is what I do require to get any software update, a service center or dealership. So that's right, VinFast is not yet doing any official over-the-air software updates that users in the US can do from home. If you want that update at this moment in time, you have to go to a dealership or service center. So let's talk about this update, what's been fixed, and over-the-air updates in general. Let's plug in.
This episode is made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes.
VF8 that I've been driving since January when we got the lease from a dealership in North Carolina because we had to go get it from there. There was a crazy lease deal, and then we drove it back to Tennessee. So that gives you a bit of perspective on how much time I've spent on the road in this electric vehicle. As a reminder, this is my out-of-spec company lease. 3 years with Spring Roll is underway. Ever since I've been driving her, I have noted very publicly that no matter what I like, no matter what is annoying, she is consistent in that she is quirky, she's glitchy, she's error prone, what have you. And every time I'd get in the car, there would be some sort of error that pops up. Nothing that made the car undrivable or unsafe, in my opinion, never felt that way, but it was a bit annoying. It would require a hard reset, or it would be gone the next time that I turned the car on and off. So errors would often come up when you sit in, you put your foot on the brake, everything lights up, the computer comes on, and some errors would pop up. And then they'd go away, even during that drive maybe, or by the time you turned it on next. And then when you get in another time, maybe there's a new error, or even the same one would pop up again and then go away. Glitchy. That was the status quo up until now. After getting the software update from the service center in Wichita, Kansas, and I have two podcasts that update kind of what I was doing during that road trip, my experiences like right after they happened. We have an out-of-spec motoring video coming in the future. We just got to get it all together. But that took 5 hours to download and install the software update at the dealership. So they gave me a loaner. I was able to take another VinFast VF8, an orange one, eco trim, out into Wichita and explore, hit a coffee shop, hit a museum, hit a sandwich shop, got to see Wichita, which I had not before. And after this 5-hour install, which was dependent on the speed of their Wi-Fi, the glitchiness is gone. I went from software version 10 to 12. I believe 13 might be available by now. It is at the end of June 2024. And man, was that a leap from version 10 to version 12. It's the last two numbers in your software version, by the way, if you're curious. But seriously, such a big difference. No longer am I getting into the VinFast and having sensor faults or random errors pop up anymore. Not at all. And that is what the service folk did tell me what would happen. You know, I did ask them, okay, how worth it is this kind of software update from 10 to 12, this version? And they were like, it'll get rid of all those errors and the glitchiness and those things that pop up. Great. Sign me up. That's what I said, especially if we were going to bring it out here to Colorado and review it. Let's try to have the most up-to-date software I can get. Of course, I would go to a dealership out here in Colorado and get it updated, or a service center, but that's not available. I'll bring up a map right now of all the VinFast service centers. Now, if you're a VinFast owner, it could be very likely that you, like me, don't live anywhere near a service center. But if you do live near one or want to take a trip to a city with one, like I did, although I don't think a lot of people are driving from Tennessee to Colorado on the regular, I would recommend it very much because it completely takes away those annoyances that were kind of like I said, the status quo for the VinFast. Along with that, it did add some more information about charging specifically, which those of us who want to know all the details of the charging sessions can really appreciate. So I can finally see the kilowatts that the EV is receiving, not only what is being dispensed by the charger, but what is actually ending up in the battery, which we know that there can be a bit of a difference there, a bit of a disparity depending on if the cooling is running, if the AC is running, et cetera, et cetera. So that was pretty cool. Added information and less glitchiness. And it doesn't have anything to do with the software because I was getting uh, great charging speeds before the update, but I have seen now consistent holds of 140 plus kilowatts of charging speeds during my charging sessions, which is better than what I saw all winter. So that does make me think, okay, either the chargers I was charging at are also not really good in the cold, or also the VinFast is not very good in the cold. But either way, I'm seeing some it tops out at 150 kilowatts, so some pretty good charging speeds, and that's great for held for a pretty good period of time. If you're curious about VinFast charging tests, they are incoming as well. We have a few days up in Fort Collins, Colorado, where we're just going to be cranking out the VinFast testing. Okay, so why doesn't VinFast do over-the-air software updates? I asked the service center this, and they told me that VinFast is quote unquote working on it, but that they are wary. So let's talk about over-the-air updates in general for a minute. Over-the-air updates, or OTA updates, are transforming the way that we interact with our vehicles. Think of it like getting a software update on your smartphone, but for your car. These updates can fix bugs, improve performance, add new features, and even enhance safety, all without you having to go to a dealership, which sounds pretty amazing, right? Well, it usually is, but sometimes things can go wrong. And I think that's where VinFast is apprehensive, hesitant at this point in time. But let's start with the benefits because I think they are glaringly obvious. The over the air updates allow automakers to just roll out improvements and fixes very rapidly. Tesla, for instance, definite a pioneer in this space. They add new features or improve existing ones, have total change to the software updates, and all you have to do is be hooked up to Wi-Fi. Sometimes you can ask for it to happen automatically or you can do it manually, but either way, it happens. And then you just have an updated system. They can improve range and performance of the vehicles. And this means that your car can get better over time without you buying a new one and without you really lifting a finger. If you just set it to automatic and even manual, you just approve the update when it comes along. So there's continuous improvement. Vehicles can get these enhancements over time. They, like I said, can be as good as the VinFast, which is kind of like low hanging fruit. Let's get rid of all the glitchiness, all the sensor faults and errors that come up. But this is keeping the car up to date with the latest technological advancements, with the latest software that the team is able to build. It's also more cost effective to have these over the air updates. It reduces the needs for the physical recalls where folks have to take their vehicles all the way back into the dealerships. It saves the manufacturer and the consumer time and money. 5 hours were spent with this car at the dealership. And those 5 hours were charged labor to VinFast. It was like $115 that VinFast has to pay instead of me just hooking up to Wi-Fi and downloading it myself. But as the guy told me, it is a one-on-one process, the service guy who did the update. I'm like, could you just go click, 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 click on a row of VinFasts and update them all with the software at one time? He was like, it's kind of a one-on-one process. You want to be there and watch and make sure that no errors come up along the way. Okay. I mean, quite intensive at this point. So it does seem that time and money definitely could be saved with over-the-air updates. Automakers like Ford and BMW and Volkswagen also do over-the-air updates. It's not just Tesla or Rivian. Ford's Mach-E and the F-150 Lightning receive pretty regular updates that can include anything from the improvement in the infotainment systems to driver assistance features improvements. And then the BMW iX and i4 models also benefit from these updates. They bring new functionalities and performance tweaks all over the air. It's definitely the future. But like I said, again, VinFast is not ready to go there. They're wary that anything could go wrong. That's what they also said at the service center. Something could happen. And that reminds me of why, it makes sense why VinFast would be afraid of this. And it points to why them and other automakers lack over-the-air capability. It's possible. It's not technically that hard. It's not rocket science. Other automakers do it. So why does VinFast and Nissan require you to take your vehicle in to the dealership for software updates? Well, they might point to some stories like the one from late last year. Rivian, known for the R1T pickup truck and the R1S SUV, electric, of course, experienced a pretty dramatic hiccup that we covered last year with their over the air update 2023.42.0. And in November of last year, 2023, Rivian pushed out this update, which unfortunately bricked the infotainment systems of many of the vehicles on the road. So imagine you lose your music, your HVAC, HVAC controls, even the speedometer, and the cause, well, it was put on Reddit that it was a fat finger mistake. Essentially, the wrong build with the incorrect security certificates was sent out, and it caused the update to fail, and it left drivers with a blank screen. They were still able to drive their vehicles, which was great. I mean, at least you can drive it, but all that information is really important. You don't have the vital displays, and customers were worried if it was safe to drive it, as well as just frustrated that it wasn't working with its software update. So Rivian, at first we didn't know. Does this mean Rivian's going to have to send people out to every Rivian owner to fix it, or can they, even with that whole bricked system, update the software again and fix it? So they had to pause that software rollout and then work on a fix, which was not immediately available via over-the-air updates, but some cases did require physical repairs, which added to obviously the inconvenience, but then others were able to have a software update that fixed it. So luckily it was resolved and it wasn't super dire, but it was definitely a whoopsie. This is the kind of thing that I think, and even something more dire, that VinFast would be avoiding here. So there's a bit of a double-edged sword with over-the-air updates. They are convenient. They allow for continuous improvement, but they also obviously carry risks, just like kind of anything with this nature does. A single error could have widespread effects. And with VinFast, with such a new market presence, and you might know its reputation, it's a little bit iffy, although I do think it's getting better with their improvements. They don't want to leave customers stranded or without critical functionalities. And many automakers, I think, could share that belief. But I do think practice makes perfect, so they're going to have to start doing it at some time and rolling it out in waves, trying with certain cars, beforehand, before doing it widespread. I think that's definitely a good approach. Security is also a pretty major concern here. So any connected system can potentially be hacked. So you have to really have great, robust security measures and reliability for these, because that can be an issue too. And if an update fails halfway, just like the service guy was saying, he has to watch it and make sure it goes all the way through, that any issues come up, then that could temporarily disrupt your vehicle's functionality if a software update fails halfway or something, if you lose connection, whatever happens. So there are definitely risks, but also some automakers have even seen this as another potential stream of revenue, that you have to pay for certain updates or features or enhancements post-purchase, which could also lead to additional costs for us, which we don't want to see. Please don't monetize every single part of enhancing the vehicle. Although over-the-air software updates are a great way to have your vehicle that you bought one day continue to improve with the technology that becomes available. So what can we learn from this? What can we learn from this? What can we take away? Obviously, rigorous testing before rolling out updates, having a phased approach. Automakers do want to be sure that their over-the-air updates are thoroughly vetted to prevent any big bugs coming through and causing widespread disruption, and a big support system so that they can quickly address any issues that probably inevitably come up when they do. And VinFast also doesn't have a robust support system, right? I had to go to Wichita, although they do have a lot of places along the coast and down in Florida and stuff, and some in the middle of America. But if you're really going to get direct service help, that would be very expensive for them if they had to send people out to everyone's home, if the car couldn't drive, or if people weren't comfortable doing it. So again, that could be very costly to them. So arguably, I do think that if you're really confident as an automaker that you're not ready to roll out over-the-air software updates, maybe you should be a little bit wary. I want to know what you all think, though. Should they just go for it? Is there no better way to learn than practice? Should it just be small groups and you should be doing over-the-air software updates even if you're concerned? Let me know what you think. Maybe they won't start in America. Maybe they'll start in another market and then slowly work its way in here. Despite the risks, obviously, it's undeniable that these updates are super valuable. All of the quirkiness that everyone has been raving about with the VinFast is gone for me. And I talked to other VinFast drivers as well. I don't know if you remember, if you've been watching, but I interviewed a couple, Larry and Judy, who got a VinFast the same time that we did. They actually purchased theirs and they nicknamed theirs Glitchy. And now they're thinking they might have to change the name, although there still are things that we would prefer to be different with the VinFast. For instance, driving mode settings and stuff like that, when you set them, and you have to go through and set a lot of them, like lane assist, all these things that are really specific to the driver, they don't save to the profile. Every time you get in, you have to reset them. Why can't we save those to a profile? Let's do that. So that kind of thing is still annoying, but I wouldn't technically qualify it as glitchy. So as the technology continues to evolve, as VinFast and other automakers become more confident with over-the-air software updates, I think we can expect all of them to adopt this approach. I think a lot of people might be like, okay, it's 2024. Let's go ahead and do this already. Vehicles are smart. They're more capable now. So I think we can get there, but sometimes even technology needs a little patience. And if VinFast could roll out their update to all of these cars right now, I think everyone would be having the experience I am. No more glitches, no more errors, no more quirky VinFast things. That would be great for them, I think. But there's even people who don't live near a service center who are older with a VinFast. I've heard these stories that just don't want to drive however many hours to a VinFast service center. So they might just live with the quirkiness until somehow a software update gets to them. I think it depends on the consumer. But what do you think it takes for an automaker to become comfortable with over-the-air software updates? How valuable is it for you as a consumer? What EV do you drive? Do you have any specific circumstances where you're like, oh my gosh, yes, this software update fix things? I know that some software updates, even with Tesla, they can change things for the better and change things for the worst. And then, you ebb and you flow. You come back and you fix it as Tesla. So when will the benefits to the automaker and the consumer outweigh the risks? That's the tipping point, I feel like. We'll have to see how quickly VinFast can move on this and keep an eye on that. I'll let you know. Maybe on the way back to Tennessee, I'll get the latest software update if there is another one. I think, like I said, version 13 is coming out soon. Who knows what will be out by then and how different it will be. Okay, y'all, that is it for me today. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, share out the video, and review us on Apple Podcasts too, even if you're tuning in on YouTube. If you listen sometimes, that would be really great. We'd really appreciate a few seconds of your time. Thanks, y'all. Drive safe, stay charged, and we'll see you next time on the Out of Spec podcast. Bye-bye.